Shri Chinmaya Sadgurave Namaha. In last class, we learned the total impact, the total implied meaning of Ramayana, how beautifully our Acharya Bhagavatpad Shankara enveloped in 2 lines. Today, we will see Jivan Mukti Lakshana once again. So, verse number 51. Bahya nitya sukha saktim hitvatma sukha nirvritaha ghatastha deepavat swasthaha swantareva prakashate. Together. Bahya nitya sukha saktim hitvatma sukha nirvritaha ghatastha deepavat swasthaha swantareva prakashate. Bahya anitya sukha asaktim. Attachment for fleeting joys of the outer world. Hitva, after having relinquished. Atma sukha nirvritaha, contented with the bliss derived from the self, Atma. Ghatastha deepavat, like a lamp placed inside a jar. Swasthaha, comfortably placed. Swantaha, swa antaha, within himself. Eva, alone. Prakashate, shines. The self abiding Jivan Mukta means realized soul while living, relinquishing all his attachments to the fleeting joys of the outer world and satisfied with the bliss derived from the Atma, shines inwardly like a lamp placed inside a jar. So now, if we see the prose order, I am adding first Jivan Muktaha. See how beautiful and how easy Sanskrit language is. Jivan Muktaha Bahya Anitya Sukha Asaktim Hitva Atma Sukha Nirvritaha Swasthaha San. And what is his condition? Ghatastha Deepavat Antaha Eva Prakashate. So Jivan Muktaha Bahya Anitya Sukha Asaktim Hitva Atma Sukha Nirvritaha Swastha San Ghatastha Deepavat Antaha Eva Prakashate. So who is a Jivan Mukta? After having renouncing the happiness dependent on outer world and unreal happiness, he remains contented in Atma Swarupa Ananda, the bliss of the intrinsic nature of himself. And impartially, he remains in his own glory. Swasmin pratisthita. How? Now, if you place a lamp, oil lamp, inside a jar without any flickering, it remains effulgent, it shines. So, bahya anitya sukha asaktim hitva. What is external basis of happiness? Now, the happiness which is born out of the connection with our perception of senses. ज्ञानेंद्रिय लाइक चक्षुरादि ज्ञानेंद्रिय के साथ जब वस्तु का संयोग होता है तब अपने अंदर जो एक सुख का अनुभूति होता है वही बाह्य सुख है, लेकिन ये अनित्य है. दिस इज अनरियल सुख, टेम्पररी. आत्म सुख निर्वृतः. Nirvritaha means contented. When he knows that I am the source of all happiness, then that person never run after the external object. Ghatastha deepavat antah prakashate. He is shining inside his antahkarana, inner instrument. What is the external or general happiness? The vritti, the thought, comes out from the inner instrument or antakarana, that goes out and take the shape of the particular thing with the help of respective sense organs, maybe eyes, maybe nose, maybe ears, maybe tongue, maybe skin, and comes back and gives the feeling of joy or sorrow. When a yogi has stopped flowing the thoughts or vritti externally, then Chaitanya alone shines inside without going outside. Bhagavan Sri Krishna in his Gita, 2nd chapter, 55 sloka, is telling Prajahati yada kaman सर्वान् पार्थ मनोगतान् आत्मनि एव आत्मना तुष्टः स्थितप्रज्ञस्तदोच्यते. Two slokas were there, 54 and 55. 54th sloka, what was the 54th sloka? Dukkheshu anidvignavanaha sukeshu vigatasprihaha vitaraga bhayakrodhaha sthitadhir muniruchyate. And in 55th, it is telling Prajahati yada kaman sarvan parthamanogatan atmani eva atmana tushta sthita prajnastadochate. Whatever formation of desire, lust in inside of a person, everything gets destroyed by the fire of knowledge, right knowledge, Advaitic knowledge, non-dual knowledge. So he has no dependence for external source. He is contented in Paramartha Tattva Swarupa Atma, and he is Sthita Prajna, means Sthira Buddhi. His intellect, mind has become tranquil. How to become an Atma Rama? In today's back, I think, means in last class, we discussed about Atma Rama. Atmani eva ramate yaha saha Atma Rama. Who has given up the desire for unreal and temporary happiness. Bahya, anitya, sukha, asaktim. It doesn't mean that he doesn't eat, he doesn't appreciate someone else if anyone else gives him any good things, good food, good clothes. It doesn't mean that. It means his happiness doesn't depend on the external object, but he knows how to appreciate. He knows everything, what is good, what is bad, but how? That everything is unreal, mithya, 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 and temporary, kshanasthai. But whenever if you give him, suppose, rasgulla, he rejoices. Wow, wow, wow. Swamiji, one more? Yes, of course. Or mishti doi, sweet curd. Yes. He relinquishes. He enjoys. If you don't give, just at the time of having rasgulla, if you snatch from him, he rejoices. He is happy. Because his happiness doesn't depend on that rasgulla or sweet curd. Who has given up the external source of happiness and who rejoices, who is happy within always. In Atma, he is Atmaram. Ghatastha Deepavat. So, if you place a lamp inside a jar, it illumines the pot completely. Gurudev has done a beautiful meaning, but from some acharya, another meaning has come out. We will see both what Gurudev has seen and what other acharyas. So, when a lamp is placed inside a jar, it illumines the whole pot completely. It means there is no need of outside light. Clear? A jnani's antakarana is like that. So, when Chidabhasa, we know what is Chidabhasa. Chit Abhasa, reflection of consciousness. When it is expressed, it is called Chidabhasa. So when Ananda, inner bliss is expressed in mind, this is called Ananda Abhasa, Ananda Abhasa. And that happiness is in Anandamaya Kosha, the sheath of bliss. But Jnani knows everything is the derived form of Atma Sukha. What about us? What about me? I can't tell about you. I can tell about me. What about me? I always search for happiness. And whenever the article or object of happiness comes to me, I get rejoiced. Because I wanted happiness in mind level. I don't want to be happiness. I always want mental happiness. Atma is happiness, means there is no sorrow. Actually, what is Atma? It's very difficult. It is not possible to express by word. For the general common man like me, who is verily dull headed, for me, Acharya has composed this thing. Because Atma is beyond Sukha and Dukkha. Atma is beyond happiness and sorrow. When a jnani, when a sadhaka, spiritual aspirant, after completion of a lot of spiritual practices, chitta mala, the impurities inside the mind goes off. There is no big shape, no disturbances, no turbulence in the mind. Because no ajnana, no avarana, no veiling, no covering. So, a jnani, a real sadhaka, always Atma Sukhi, because there is no impurity. And that is called Swastha. Swastha, if we derive the word, it means swasmin sthitah, abiding in his own self. Swastha. Common man like me is also Sukha Swarupa. But why can't I understand? Why I run after for getting happiness? Why can't I understand that I am that intrinsic bliss, supreme bliss? Because my mind is not calm. My mind is always turbulent with the heavy pressure of likes and dislikes. That is why my likes always forces me to run after a thing to get happiness, or to run away from a thing to avoid sorrow. Happiness, in other sense, you can tell a conducive thought flow. If we start analyzing that what is happiness, happiness is nothing but the vritti or thought flow. What? The conducive thought flow. And what is sorrow? The flow of non-conducive thoughts. For a jnani, that conducive thought flows even in non-conducive situation. But how I as a common man will produce that? Two ways. There is no other alternative. First one, sadhana chatushtaya. The fourfold spiritual practices, what we discussed in the beginning of Tattva Bodha, definitions of Vedanta. There is no alternative. And surrendering myself, my ego, my sense of individuality, my sense of individual knowledge, egocentric knowledge, to the feet of Ishta Devata, my chosen deity, surrendering wholeheartedly to the scriptures, surrendering wholeheartedly in the holy lotus feet of the teacher who speaks only Shastra, who have learned Shastra through the Guru Parampara, who is established in the Shastra, to that Guru, without surrendering our ego. Knowledge will come intellectually, but it will not stay. Who can do that? They are called Dhiraha. The Ajnanis has only one problem. First, no enough faith in Guru or teacher and Shastra. Undoubtedly, we can't believe. That is the starting point of the mental turbulence of a sadhaka who has really chosen that path of this sadhana, he or she must have to surrender with a lot of faith and devotion and love to the holy feet of the teacher, Shastra, and chosen deity. Then slowly, dependence on external source of happiness will be reduced, and Atma Sukha, the inner peace, will start shining. Shastra says, give up your tamasika sukha vasana, come to rajasika sukham. Then in second step, tell, give up your rajasika sukham. Or if you can't give up it, just transfer it as sattvika sukham. Try to get joys in bhajan, kirtan, japam, upasana. Wherever satsang, भगवान की बात चल रहा है, go and sit there, listen to it, and be happy. Try to dissolve your individuality in totality. When someone else praises me, I become happy. Maybe externally I say, no, no, I nothing, I am nothing. Everything is Guru's grace. But I know whoever else praises me, I become happy. And if anything else happens, anything, any criticism comes, my inner peace, my everything, sadhana gets turbulated. Shastra will help me. Guru Kripa will help me. Intellect will be stimulated with new ideas. Upanishads are nothing but the revelation of the rishis thousand years back. The truth has been revealed by them. Get joys in it. We have to know how to be happy in subtle things. When our mind becomes subtle, then only we can have the strength of getting subtle ananda, sukshma ananda. We are always frustrated with our surroundings. And how it will help me, how I will get rid of that. Puja, bhajan, kirtan, japa. If I start doing that, slowly, my mind will be sukshma. Memorize slokas. Start memorizing slokas. That is my oblation to my Guru Parampara. Make your home as ashram. As without oxygen we can't live, without water we can't live, without happiness we can't live. Second chapter 46 sloka, Bhagavan is telling, Yavan artha udapane sarvata samplutodake tavan sarveshu vedeshu brahmanasya vijan. When you do japam, one day you observe your japa mood. Facial expression. Don't take it otherwise. Keep a camera and forget about it that there is a camera in front of you. And see the facial changes. So many thought comes and how our mind tortures us. Whole world is the body of God. The whole world is the prasad of Bhagavan. Whatever you are getting, maybe according to your wish or not. Our Gurudev, Srimad Swami Chinmayanandaji Maharaj, once paralyzed. Someone asked, what happened, Gurudev? He told, Ishvara Prasad, gift of God. In the non-conducive situation also, conducive thought gets produced. That is called surrendering to God. That is called love for God. Otherwise, the lakshana of jnani, to understand it is very difficult. Because externally our Gurudev was very angry. What happened? No, go. Likewise, this childish activities. See, in some small, serious event, if you have that eyes of wisdom, you can understand a jnani. Otherwise, it's not possible. The goal of the seekers is no doubt the end of all sorrows and the achievement of perfect joy. He who has withdrawn his consciousness entirely from all his identifications with his body, mind, and intellect is known as a man of realization. Naturally, therefore, he will not be conscious of the objects of these three layers of matters, namely the world of sense objects, the variety of feelings, and the arrays of ideas. However, to the self, in the self, there is nothing but the self to illumine. When the self-effulgent truth has nothing else other than itself to illumine in its own infinite glory, how will it exist? This will now be the doubt in the mind of every student of Vedanta who is approaching the theory of self-realization, especially during his early days of study, when he is trying to appreciate philosophy through his own limited intellectual evaluation. The condition of the pure consciousness, when it has no other object to be conscious, to expect, except the self is beautifully brought out in this analogy by Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji. When a lighted lamp is put on a table, its glowing illumination plays upon the surface of the various objects in the room, and in varying degrees of intensity, it illumines the objects. But as soon as that lighted lamp is slowly and carefully lowered into a pot or inside a jar, the light of the lamp must come to illumine only the inner space of the jar. Similarly, consciousness, while playing through the equipments, no doubt gets reflected upon the objects and provides us with the knowledge of objects. But when we have withdrawn the consciousness from the vehicles into itself, it can illumine only itself. It is said in the verse that at this stage of meditation, the self shines inwardly all alone. This should not be misunderstood to mean only the direct dictionary meaning of the term inward. When the consciousness is withdrawn into the self, it illumines the within, is a statement that is couched in the technical language of Vedanta. In Vedanta, subtlety of a thing is measured by its pervasiveness, and the subtler is conceived as interior to the grosser. Naturally, therefore, the innermost self is the subtlest of the subtle, which means that it is all pervading and nothing pervades it. At the moment of self-realization, the final experience, when the consciousness comes to illumine within, experience is that of the infinite, all-pervading, subtlest of the subtle, the ever-effulgent self of the nature of pure awareness. This is the secret import of the verse under discussion. Hari Om Tat Sat.